you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
Do you feel it?
Yes, we do.
A worldwide awakening is upon us. Welcome to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Where we explore topics such as UFOs, aliens, banned medical cures, as well as classified secret knowledge. Come question your holographic existence. Share experiences from the other side. This is a show that will expand your mind as we decrypt the symbolic messages locked away deep within your DNA. And now, your guides for this magical journey. The hosts of the Universal Consciousness Show, Aage, Nost, and Diana Seraphim.
Hello. Yes, you are listening to the show for the thinking global citizen. We have a fascinating guest for you today, all the way from Romania. He is a scientific researcher and many other hats he is wearing. And I'd like to tell you also first how you can connect with us. My name is Aage, and I'm one of the hosts, and my co-host is Diana, and she is over in Germany. Are you there, Diana?
I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hello. And for those of you that would like to hear this show again, you will find us where we have it archived. It's on our website and also on the YouTube under Universal Consciousness Show. We'll be on Facebook under my name and the show name, and on Twitter and iTunes, TuneIn, and a bunch of other places where you can find us out there. And of course, also at kcorradio.com in the archives. We will be there too, so you can listen to this show again. And also at the KCOR radio website, which many of you are listening to the show through now, there is a donate button down at the bottom of the page. And if you'd like also to support us that way, that will be wonderful. It tells us we are doing the right thing when you do. And otherwise, we love you anyway. Just knowing you're there, it gives you a warm feeling, and I sure feel it. I love you guys. And now I want to have the guest introduced to you. And since he is from Romania, Diana is from Romania. And they speak the same language, so I would really like Diana to take the lead on this one and introduce Cristian, because he has done some phenomenal things. He was very ill, and an incurable disease that he cured himself from, for the most by thinking himself well and alternative medicine. And this is something that will give people hope. So stay with us. There's a lot of technical information in it, because we want to make sure that you understand this is real, what he's talking about. It's not just somebody's opinion. This is real, and he talks about the science behind it. So stay with us on this one, because it is going to get good once you understand it. So Diana, take the ball and run with it. I am all ears.
Yes, thank you. So, yes, there are some people with extraordinary will who manage to turn the unhappy experience into a successful story and becoming an inspiration to those around them. Such an example is Cristian Muresanu from Romania, and we wanted to do a first interview about his achievements. Cristian is a science journalist, editor, moderator, author, and producer of the Romanian television, where he has so far produced almost 400 shows with topics in the field of science and knowledge. He suffered 15 years long from a degenerative disease of the intervertebral discs. Although he never made any physical efforts, he had no accidents, hurts, or injury in his back area. Until today, despite of the amazing discoveries of the medicine, pharmacy, and surgery, absolutely nothing can cure this disease. But Christian, he showed on his own body that healing is possible. Moreover, he wants to find out the secrets behind this regenerative mechanism in order to give hope for those without hope. So, Christian, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to answer my question. And I also want to welcome you in Romanian. So, bine ai venit în emisiunea noastră și îți mulțumesc că ai acceptat invitația.
Bun găsit, mă bucur să fiu alături de tine și alături de ascultătorii din Las Vegas și poate de peste tot globul. I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much.
So don't worry, the listener, we will talk in English.
Yeah, we'll keep this one going in English.
Yes.
You totally lost me on that one.
Yes. So, Christian, before we get into the actual topic of today's discussion, please describe what was your pain and your life before the healing?
I had terrible pains and I was already addicted to painkillers. My left leg was almost numb and sometimes I couldn't walk at all. In addition, I was suffering of strong headaches as well as chronic rhinitis. And according to the allopathic medicine, degenerative disc diseases, or DDD for short, cannot be healed. And more, it becomes worse with aging. My life had no meaning, the pain was permanent and only of two kinds, bearable and unbearable. I was very close to that limit when there is no difference between life and death. But in 2006, I managed to make a physiological change that I'm trying to prove scientifically in order to help those who are suffering. Probably my explanations require an effort from your listener, but it is worth making this effort because I feel that now there is hope for DDD healing and we should have that intellectual maturity to establish the foundation of a new science.
But there are many opinions that the degenerative disc disease and generally the degenerative diseases are correlated with aging. Do you think is that true?
In a period of time, 30, 40 years ago, it was believed that most of the DDD would be correlated with aging. Unfortunately, currently there is no correlation between the family of DDD and aging because the age at which the first signs start to appear is around 20 to 25 years old. At 30 years old, in many cases, the disease progresses towards its second stage with repeated pain episodes. In general, many other degenerative diseases are starting at younger and younger ages, such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, stroke, and cardiovascular diseases, and this phenomenon is serious. According to statistics, there are currently living over 80,000 centenarians only in the US alone, and their number is estimated to almost double by 2030. But how many of them will have at least an acceptable state of health? Because we cannot say they will be perfectly healthy, not to mention health problems of those who are not centenarians.
But that means so far DDD is considered incurable. Why do you think it's that?
Well, because DDD has a long chain of causes and effects and make it impossible to cure through the current medical paradigm. To give you a metaphorical example, we are doing many wrong things. First, we treat the symptoms, but not the causes. Then, we are trying to locate the problem in one single place, which could rarely be true. Third, most of the time, the problem is not where the pain comes from. It's just like saying that if we have a headache, then our problem is located in the head. In fact, this would be rarely prove to be true.
But in your opinion, how many generated factors are involved in DDD and what would they be?
Unfortunately, they cannot be easily and logically delimited, So we cannot design a treatment that targets a fixed and very precise number of factors, also very well located. As medical science and visualization techniques were able to provide more and more details, we actually learned that DDD is becoming more complex and is increasingly difficult to treat or understand. Let's make an imaginary journey into our body using an imaginary microscope which would show us all possible details anywhere. As we gradually zoom in on our body, we will go through various degrees of amplification, from macro, then micro, nano, and then the invisible realm. Let's imagine we do this. So first we have the physical body, which we see from the outside. When someone suffers from DDD, his body exhibits certain characteristics, such as deformities, inflammation, improper walking, decreased mobility in the trunk, and others. At the time when medicine had analyzed only what could be seen with the naked eye, degenerative disease was difficult to understand. With the help of modern devices today, we see tissues, bones, and intervertebral discs. Over time, it had been found that inflamed discs can manifest protrusions which touch the spinal nerves, rupture of the fibrous ring, and we can see the herniation of the disc and other problems. But what I had just named are not causes, but effects. Of course, we need a didactic and logical understanding of pain when we begin to describe things. When the doctor addresses a patient having a low back pain, he will tell him that his pain is caused by a disc that touches a spinal nerve. But this is rather a cause of the pain, not the cause of the disease. Pains can have many causes, but these are not necessarily the causes of the disease.
But in order not to lose the topic itinerary, we made the first imaginary zoom on the physical body and we saw tissues. And you said that the disease has deeper causes. What was discovered next?
Well, now we zoom in order to see the extracellular level. A lot of things had been discovered here, such as degradation of the extracellular matrix of the intervertebral disc, the loss of water, so-called drying of the disc, loss of nutrients, loss of proteoglycans, and loss of vascularization. It is complicated to intervene in such details to restore the entire functionality of the disc. Imagine that all these things should be corrected continuously 24 hours a day, because the degenerative process, once started, it never stops. But science progressed even further, moving from the extracellular to the intracellular level, and at this level, each cell has a kind of energy supplying mini battery, and this is the mitochondria. A number of amazing mitochondrial transfer experiments in mice have revealed rapid cures of very serious diseases by simply replacing the energetically dysfunctional mitochondria, which did not have mutations in their internal DNA.
But what happened after this success on animal model?
Well, the disappointment appeared at the moment when this transfer had been performed to patients. Our immune system is able to distinguish between what is non-self or foreign from what is self and reject them. You cannot take the mitochondria from the outside, from the body of an animal or even another human, and inject them into the degenerated disc. This has been tried and the results are disappointing. And even if there would be an initial effect, it would fade out with the passage of time because the body affected by DDD does not know how to continue on his own. Then an even deeper approach was proposed, and that is restarting the ATP reactions inside the mitochondria. So now we look through this imaginary microscope and zoom in on the cell and get there inside the mitochondria, in the place where the most important part of the energy of the cell is produced. At this level, the studies are rather theoretical than practical. There are a lot of articles, hypotheses, proposals, or experiments in vitro, but until clinical trials, there is a long, long way.
But still, what has been achieved so far at this level of exploration and study?
Well, it is known that various metabolic agents that stimulate ATP production are thought. But even if this happens for a certain period of time, how do we correct the other issues from the other levels? How can we revascularize the fibrous ring, rehydrate it, replenish it with proteoglycans, and so on? We have no idea how to do this and to do it continuously. But science does not stop, which makes me optimistic. Innovative ideas always come up and overturn old beliefs, and so science renews itself. Then came the discovery of telomeres, rewarded with a Nobel Prize in 2009. Therefore, science has zoomed in into the deepest level of matter, at the molecules of life, the DNA, discovering that at its end is a set of special molecules called telomeres. The discovery of telomeres specified that any tissue that is made up of cells having shorter and shorter telomeres is aging and degenerating faster and faster. It was shocking. Could this be the ultimate cause of most degenerative diseases and aging? This level of understanding of degenerative disease in general, as well as aging, seemed and still seems very promising. Regarding the experiments, such as biomolecular therapies, telomerase activators, and other gene therapies, they did not pass the level of toxicity test on animal models.
So, if I understood well, the shortening of the telomeres would be the ultimate cause of the degenerative diseases and also of the aging process, right?
It might seem true. It was initially suspected to be true, but the real informational shock had occurred when Elizabeth Blackburn, the Nobel Prize laureate for telomere discovery, started to publish articles and books about the influence of stress on telomere length. And so our journey of exploring and understanding the degenerative disease started from the physical body, then continued with the micro and nanoscopic levels, and now we are reaching the invisible domain, namely that of the mind, emotions, state of our conscience, and lifestyle. This means that the degenerative disease, referring to the one that is not genetically inherited, has a causality with a significant importance, possibly major, in our lifestyle. The misuse of body resources, destructive emotions, incorrect thinking, mainly negative, destructive to one's own person and to others around us. Will we be able to heal something like that? The answer is a strictly personal one, and each listener can formulate it for himself. And many other details have been already published in a journal called Current Topics in Medicinal Biochemistry, but this is in a complex scientific language.
But it seems worrying, but at the same time is also encouraging, because although the invisible level cannot be chemically treated, it is still within our reach. But could we cure degenerative diseases if we intervene in our thoughts, emotion, and feelings?
No, we can't cure DDD with just that. we can slow down the degeneration of the disc, but we cannot repair them because what has been destroyed requires biological resources, and I will tell you how and where they can be obtained. Let's do a little recap or an abstract of the causes and effects of DDD. As we detailed earlier, we are confronted with a structure of causes which act multidimensionally, and allow me to use metaphors. And that is on the vertical axis, which means profound, in all 7 levels already presented, and simultaneously on horizontal axis, which means in the entire areas delimited by each level, such as the body as a whole, tissues, extracellular, intracellular, mitochondrial, molecular, and psycho-emotional. In short, from visible to invisible, gradually moving from the macro, micro, nano, and the dimensions of our mind, emotions, feeling, and subconscious programs, the invisible level. To correct all these problems, simultaneous actions are needed on all levels and on the entire surface of all tissues that have entered degeneration, and not just those that have advanced so much that we feel pain.
But yet medicine claims that once a degenerative process has begun, it never stops. For this reason, medicine claimed that degenerative diseases are incurable. How would you explain this from the perspective of your experience? You can tell a tiny bit now and the rest after the break. We still have 3 minutes to the break.
Okay, so let's start with to enter into the time frame. Even if we could determine with maximum accuracy all causes, and we would have all the therapies, remedies, and technologies available to act simultaneously in all these levels, well, we still cannot apply them 24 hours a day. We simply cannot invent a therapy that works around the clock. Moreover, after such an ultra multi-level treatment discontinuation, the causes will continue to manifest for the simple fact they do not disappear, and thus the disease further progresses. Medicine is correct when it states that once a degenerative process has begun, it never stops. But at the same time, the body possesses an opposed regenerative mechanism, which at very young ages is very active. Most of us cannot perceive it, although many degenerative processes have started. And why is that? Because the body compensates for them at approximately the same speed. Thus, we do not feel any problem. Until now, medicine has been focused too much to study in extra details only the degenerative processes, and only rarely I could find in the PubMed database studies related to the regenerative processes. Probably they were thought to be random or insufficient, but believe me, everyone has them, absolutely all human beings.
Okay, so I think we'll go to the break now, and then we will continue after, right?
Yeah, well, let's do that. We got 30 seconds left, so stay with us here, folks, because there's a lot of technical information, but the good stuff is yet to come, because we are going to get into how this works for each one of us. Let's see you on the other side.
You're listening to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly connection to the truth.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Share your knowledge by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers find us on Skype at KCOR Radio. It's time to abandon your fear and question what you think you know.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
More awakening awaits.
After this, after this, after this, after this, after this, after this.
Immerse yourself in an epic journey through time where ancient mysteries unfold within a story of love and betrayal, as well as a battle of good versus evil in The Emissary Book 1, the reader's favorite gold medal award winner for Visionary Fiction 2019. The action and adventure of The Emissary continues in The Emerald Tablet, Book 2. The 2019's Bronze Medal Award winner, The Emissary and The Emerald Tablet by Tamara Veach and Rennie DeFazio are both available now on Amazon.com. Let your reading adventure begin.
The Fenton Files, where it's all connected.
You see, whoever controls technology controls the world.
Come explore a universe full of possibilities. Every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. The Fenton Files. Go where no other show has gone before.
You can deny all the things I've seen, all the things I've discovered, but not for much longer. Because too many others know what's happening out there.
Whether it be UFOs, aliens, conspiracies, or even consciousness, your host, Lorian Fenton, has a file for that. The Fenton Files. Fenton Files. Your journey to the truth is but a file away. Live Monday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The Fenton Files.
Incredibly intense.
Where truth is just waiting to be discovered.
Are you ready to go?
It's showtime!
You're listening to the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Crank this up!
Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Their base is so large it has to draw most of its power from the nearby nuclear fusion plant.
The future of radio is here and now.
Monday nights are about to become hauntingly good, as Reverend Sean Whittington possesses the airwaves with Vegas Supernatural. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Vegas Supernatural, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. There's a war raging between good and evil. The question is, which side are you fighting on? Tune in Monday nights as Reverend Sean Whittington sets the new standard for paranormal radio with some of the most influential personalities in the world today. Vegas Supernatural, hosted by Reverend Sean Whittington, every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The one show even the devil doesn't want you to hear.
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
It's time, once again, to unravel the mysteries of the universe by connecting the dots to a higher consciousness. This is the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Now the world will begin hearing us.
Share your knowledge by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
It's as simple as that.
Find us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us on the live chat at KCORradio.com. Back to your enlightened hosts, Aage Nost and Diana Seraphim.
Hello. You are still listening to the Universal Consciousness Show, and we are talking with Cristian Muresanu from all the way over in Romania. He has a phenomenal story here based on his research and his experience in how the mind and natural medicine can cure just about anything. And it got very deep into the science here, and we're going to hear a little more of that, and then we're going to get to the good stuff. How can we apply this to ourselves? Because it definitely can be done. All it takes is a little bit of effort of thought to start it out. So I want to give this back to Diana, and please run with it, Diana, because we are on a roll.
Yes, thank you. So, Cristian, you mentioned that it's a natural regeneration process in every human, in all people. Then the question is, why the healing does not occur automatically, or why it cannot stop the evolution of the disease?
Yes, because of disruptive factors where efficiency decreases as we age. However, it is not aging that determines or influences regeneration, but a combination of the environmental factors and depletion of body resources. The regenerative mechanism could work at any age, but we inhibit it by incorrect lifestyle, incorrect diet, incorrect thinking, incorrect talking, incorrect human relationships, stress, overwork at our job, and in 5% of the cases, we also have genetic determinism or predispositions. Even so, there are people doing all these things wrong, and they have no problems. Why? Because their natural regenerative mechanism is unusually powerful, but such individuals are rare. When advanced degenerative diseases occur in childhood, it is clear that regenerative mechanisms do not work, and we should intervene in a certain way, but we don't know how to do it. Patients who are in sufferance must become themselves researchers and search in archives and libraries absolutely everything that is new about their disease. Maybe somewhere in the world, someone at some point will discover a cure or at least to stop the disease as it is. It is known the case of medical nurse Elaine Delac, who discovered a mixture of substances that can stop the development of multiple sclerosis and symptoms. Since then, she has been living a normal life along with tens of thousands of patients who have benefits from their invention marketed all over the world. Just as famous is the case of the Italian Augusto Odone, and I was the last journalist to interview him, who discovered the oil mixture called Lorenzo's oil, which stabilizes the ALD, prolonging his son's life with 33 more years over the medical prognosis. He was ill from 2 years old. So never lose hope.
But still, yet in your case, the healing happened with a much higher speed than the one which the diseases evolved in the 15 years before the healing started. How can you explain this?
There are two large groups within the class of degenerative diseases, those that affect tissues, discs, and those that affect nerves and muscles. These two large groups require different approaches. In my case, my biological transformation could restore the tissues and discs, but the nerves were not affected by the prolonged inflammation which has manifested in my body for over 20 years. I point out that while acute short-term inflammation is beneficial for the body, chronic inflammation is destructive and can affect myelin sheaths, not just the intervertebral discs. Regarding the speed with which the healing occurred, in my case, there is a paradox, because with the natural physiological settings, the regeneration speed is at most equal to the degeneration speed, so that immediately after the age of 20 years old, the regeneration speed is starting to gradually decrease, and if we add the disruptive factors further, then degeneration speed may increase. As degeneration continues to increase and regeneration continues to decrease, the disease becomes more severe and become more difficult to control. However, the patient gains a time frame that he can use. The only way to cure DDD is to start an accelerated regenerative process. You can't cure DDD without this.
But this details that is almost seems to be from a science fiction realm, and yet it is real. Accelerated regeneration for 13 years. It is just like you actually reversed the biological time, compensating for the effects of natural aging and also DDD, inflammation, and other conditions. How is this possible?
What happened in my case apparently contravenes the natural biological laws, but in reality, it is a natural phenomenon still insufficiently studied. That is, an accelerated regeneration phenomenon has occurred, which has not stopped after almost 14 years. It seems that at present it maintains an almost constant speed, but that speed is still higher than the degenerative speed. The only way to completely restore what has been destroyed during the 15 years of discopathy is to stimulate a regenerative mechanism which will manifest at least a few years in a row with an increasing speed to compensate simultaneously the number of cells that degenerate every second, repair the already degenerated cells for 15 years in a row, and more than that, compensate for the aging. That is, the number of cells that become senescent, age. After all the tissues of the degenerated disc were regenerated, I thought that the accelerated regenerative process would stabilize only at a compensatory level. But the surprise came as I practiced hyperbiological transformation every 3 to 5 days. The regenerative mechanism continued to speed up, healing some of the cells that became senescent and stopped sending false signals to healthy cells. In other words, it slowed my aging of the organs and skin, as can be seen in some of my photos. If I didn't practice hyperbiological transformations, which means massive transfers of regeneration factors in the blood, then only the automatic biological transformation operating 24 hours a day would have the effect of maintaining a constant regeneration speed. So for me, it was interesting to continue to do experiments. Some of them, beware, can be temporarily dangerous and cannot be done by anyone. On another occasion, I may tell you more. So here is how many things are possible, but people need to start studying, applying, and even going through the first steps, which I went through to heal DDD and enjoy a better life for almost 14 years in a row.
Can this phenomenon also be called a reverse of aging process? Is the same thing?
I think it's just a temporary phenomenon. One cannot endlessly reverse aging, so other less important tissues will continue to age. But what is really important to me is that I no longer have illnesses and pain. I put an end to suffering. That was my only goal. I don't seek spiritual enlightenment. I don't want to walk on a spiritual path. All I wanted was to end my sufferance. And until now, I am satisfied with what I could do. What's coming next, I have no idea.
Yes. But obviously, if you wrote a book with 100 pages in English and 350 pages in Romanian, it is not possible to tell in a single show. But could you describe, squeezed, but exactly how this biological transformation can be achieved to cure a degenerative disease?
For an in-depth understanding, listeners would definitely need to read the book called Biological Transformations Controlled by the Mind, available for free download online. There are 4 large groups of regenerative proteins that could be used as continuous and accelerated regeneration resources for the healing of DDD.
And how can we use these factors to cure the degenerative diseases?
First, let me tell you how did the researchers thought a therapy. Injections.
Yeah.
We take all these and inject them into the disc. It worked on animal model, but it doesn't work on human, or if it does, then it's not permanent. Who wants to live with lifetime medication, which means costs and no cure, only amelioration? Imagine the fact that you take an injection which releases all these growth factors into the blood. Let's assume that all cells and tissues in it will absorb them, but after that, the effect will fade out and you will need a new supply. So let's assume that these injections will only cost you $1 per shot, so you can take them for life. And this is even worse, because if you search the internet, in fact, one single injection costs up to $2,000. However, since the body is not stimulated to continue this using his own internal resources, dependency will appear, and finally the body may even no longer react to these compounds. And then what? Not to mention, it would be difficult to calculate the exact amount of each compound and how to deliver them, encapsulated in something which will trigger a membrane channel opening at the targeted cell. How can you do that? How many tests you'll need? How many years? Research strategies and money.
Well, this sounds tiny bit shocking, no? And what you just said, but then what would be the method to create a permanent healing effect?
This can be done only if we bring those factors continuously and in greater quantity into the bloodstream, but without affecting the functioning of other organs and systems which need all these growth factors. So you cannot borrow from areas where they are used intensively by the brain, liver, lungs, heart. They are produced continuously and consumed continuously. Each system strictly manages its quantities because as they get older, they are produced in smaller quantities. But the organs and systems mentioned cannot work with less. And then what happens is that the disc, the cartilages, and the bones suffer from the lack of these regenerative factors. Why? Because their degeneration does not endanger life. So we must enhance the amount of regenerative factors in the blood, and we must do that in an uninterrupted rhythm for the rest of our lives without side effects and without perturbing our lives, and stay healthy for a very long time. This is the only way. And I gave it a name. I named it biological transformations controlled by the mind.
Yes, but then the question is, where can we get these regeneration factors, since each organ and system produces only the quantities it needs?
This is the most important question, the essence of the whole discussion we have today, and which would require successive details in several possible future shows. This is a question no one has ever been able to answer with practical application. We only place in the body of man and woman from which these factors of regeneration can be brought continuously 24 hours a day are the seminal fluid from the prostate gland and the menstrual fluid that flows through the endometrium. The automatic mechanism is generated by muscular education, and its effect becomes permanent in less than a year if the dedicated practitioner achieves these skills. When these fluids are transferred into capillary veins under the influence of the educated contractions, then the following effects occur. Improvement of the mind, stimulation of telomeres and slow aging, stimulation of ATP production from mitochondria, internal mitochondrial transfer through nanovesicles, matrix extracellular restoration, revascularization of the disc, and so on. But as I said, because degeneration never stops, this regenerative mechanism works 24 hours a day and is compensating for both degeneration and cell aging.
This sounds almost unbelievable. So there are so many effects simultaneously applying a single method. How can this method be learned? Is it educational? Did you know someone that succeeded with this method except you?
To all the questions, the answer is yes. However, it is not simple, it is not easy, but the results are as good as the effort, so I think it is worth trying. But frankly, this cannot be done on a radio station, only within an organized school. And in order for this to happen, I must be able to produce a lab evidence or visualization of how these fluids can circulate in the blood. It is for the first time I speak so directly where the practice needs to be brought to, because my claims are based on the PubMed database, which already proposes and explains such exercises useful in preventing premature ejaculation of seminal menstrual fluids. There are at least 10 types of regeneration factors contained in these fluids, capable of regenerating almost any tissue and organ, but it is not yet known exactly how to transfer them into the blood. Those regenerative factors do not work if they are reinjected. That's the problem. So we need to reach that level of consciousness so that we became able to push the apparent boundary between automatic subconscious muscular control and through education to make it active in our conscious mind. I have done this, and others already managed to do it, so why would one think that it can't be done? It's worth a try. There are certain features in women and men. Today, it is no longer possible to speak of generalized or generally valid systems related to health, medication, and therapies. Everything is getting closer to those that are personalized to the specific needs of each individual. For this reason, I have found the seminars and conferences extremely useful within small group level and especially at individual level.
And according to all the last experience that you have with these seminars and everything, do you think that all diseases can be cured using those regeneration factors?
It may be possible in the future, but seminal and menstrual fluids do not contain all possible categories of regeneration factors. However, in my opinion, it is an extraordinary thing that 10 or more identified so far are available. It is easier to think of new therapies because now we have a basis for solving other incurable diseases. However, we will never reach a universal panacea that will solve anything. Our mind and body might have many mysteries that have not yet been discovered. We know several tens of thousands of cell membrane proteins, but there is still a billion left about we know absolutely nothing. Try to imagine how many secrets are still awaiting for being discovered.
You're right. But we can activate the regeneration power of the body through practices on a daily basis so that we maintain the body and its parameters at a constant level to act prophylactically without necessarily needing to be ill, right?
Yes, and this would be the easiest way to upgrade our own physiology. The first stage of practice is described in my book and refers to the 5 attitudes. Simply reading them does not require anything special. Anyone can do them. The second stage requires the education of the pelvic muscles in the woman and man to delay the premature ejaculation and the loss of menstruation fluid. And the PubMed database offers articles where these practices are scientifically explained. So science has shown that it is in our benefit to use these very precious fluids of the body. But to detail, I should at least need another hour of discussion. This stage is only for the advanced disciples.
Yes, I can imagine. But how could anyone with no scientific experience practice this biological transformation, although we don't know the effects on other diseases except of DDD?
I noticed that more and more people, when they hear the word science, become slightly disturbed, perhaps disappointed, or even angry for various reasons, mostly false and unjustified. But this is an automatic reaction to that science taught in schools and faculties, and which deal with difficult phenomena, very difficult equations, very difficult chemical formulas. When I appeared in Romania with the promotion of science, this was the first reaction, at least here in Romania, of rejection, denial, frustration, non-acceptance. But we need science. Without science, there is no progress. However, there is a need for a science directed to our needs, directly involved in our daily needs. This one already exists, and I only promote it. Therefore, you do not need to be specialists and top experts to understand how to practice biological transformation.
Yeah, I see now we have 3 minutes left to the close of the show here, Diana, so maybe it's just about one question left, and then let Cristian tell us also where we can find his book and so on.
Yeah, so tell us the final message for those patients that are disappointed by the medical system, and then tell us where do they find the information about this.
Yes, so my final message would be never give up looking for remedies, read science news daily, practice best as you can from all I could offer as knowledge in my TV shows and books. Read the testimonials of those who have managed to cure themselves of diseases similar to theirs. Never lose hope. And if I would like to expose my own motto that I have been focusing on over 13 years, then it would be this. I better be skeptical, but in an ongoing search for evidence, to accept something that has a logic, but never stop there. To search for all available and possible evidence, and when I simply cannot prove certain things, I prefer to be neutral or to deal with others which are more urgent and important for daily living. I will conclude with a philosophical quotation. The truth of the ways that lead to the cessation of what is limiting are correct point of view, correct speech, correct action, correct way of life, correct effort, correct will, correct thinking, and correct meditation.
Yeah,
so let's do everything right with no exaggeration. And before we end, I must mention back in 2008, I started to become interested in biology with the help of the amazing public conferences about new biology with Dr. Bruce Lipton. Without that, I would never become interested.
Yes, and where can they get your book real quick?
The book are available in my accounts on Academia and ResearchGate. It is very easy to Google my name, Cristian Muresanu, Academia, or Cristian Muresanu, ResearchGate.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cristian.
Me too. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for everything.
This has been the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly guide to a deeper understanding of the all that we are.
Well, in a few years, it will be a matter of common sense for very many people that they're one with the universe. It'll be so simple.
Live Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, hosts, or their guests, please visit universal-consciousness-show.com. That's universal-consciousness-show.com. Remember, there's a shift coming. A new earthly paradigm. A shift to universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51. Wait, that doesn't exist. This